All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Launch Today, the podcast focused on what it takes to get your new business to $1 million in revenue or beyond. From marketing tactics to incredible guest interviews, we focus on sharing behind-the-scenes insight from masters in their field. If you want to grow your revenue for your startup or business, you don't want to miss today, because joining us is the master of organic social marketing and growing your online brand authentically, Laura Bernhardt. Laura started working in marketing 10 years ago as an intern. 10 years ago as an intern. I started 25 years ago as an intern. I'm getting old. Her career led her to various marketing roles, honing her skills in content strategy, inbound marketing, and digital brand building. In 2019, she launched her podcast, which eventually led to her social media agency, Marketing Bound. Now she helps small businesses stand out online and get them leads. Laura, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. We've been back and forth on LinkedIn for a year. Yeah, we connected on some event. And then we were like, oh, we're both in Canada, although you're like a real Canadian and I'm a carpetbagger.
No. Where are you now?
I'm in Montreal, but I'm from Florida.
We have to go for coffee then.
Yeah, oh, wait, you're in Montreal too?
Yeah.
How do I not know this?
How do we not know this?
We could have done this in person in my murder shed. You would take one look and be like, I don't do in person.
Yeah, I would have been like, no, thank you.
From the open plywood, right? The whole thing, I built it myself and I'm not competent at it. And from the outside, it looks like a place you do take people to murder them. So you'd be like, oh, I forgot I have a really important thing to do anywhere other than here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should meet for coffee someplace not here.
Yeah,
right.
Someplace nice.
Anyway. That's why you speak French. I was going to ask why, because I saw that, but I didn't see where you're based out of. Man, good show for on my part. All right. You've worked with a variety of professional services to help them improve their social media presence. I've been seeing you recently. You've been on a tear being like, lawyers, you suck at social media. Here's what you should be doing instead. What's a counterintuitive strategy that you found consistently works to help drive engagement, leads, whatever people want out of their social media presence?
So it's a little bit controversial because I've actually been saying this for years, and that what I've been saying is that you should be providing valuable content. You lead with value, because the more that you give, the more you get in return, right? But I don't think that is the strategy anymore.
Ooh.
I think that is the new baseline.
Okay.
So everyone expects you to give value now, and everybody can access any information anywhere. It's how you're presenting the content that matters now. It's how engaging is your content now that matters. So that's my hot take. My hot take is, it's not about providing valuable content anymore. To grow, you have to be providing engaging content. Everyone assumes you're going to provide value.
It's leaf mold season and low. So I was listening, but I was also trying really hard not to clip out the sound while you were talking. All right. Awesome. I agree. One of the important things that is hard for founders is a lot of founders build because they love to build. And then you're like, cool, talk about the thing you built. And they have a very, they're like, this is the thing I'm doing, and I'm very excited about it. And you're like, come on. Like, people respond to an emotion. And you can be angry. People will take angry. You can be enthusiastic. That's fine too. But just flat affect, even if you have really valuable stuff, they're all going to just scroll to the next video, because everything is TikTok now. Even LinkedIn's TikTok. That's why we're recording a video podcast.
Yes.
So, all right. There's a problem. I think you've been speaking to lawyers recently, and one of the things that they struggle with, I remember I worked with lawyers in marketing back as far as 2005, so 20 years now. And one of their big problems is there's authenticity and there's professionalism. And how do you manage to balance it? What's the right balance? How do you, give me a specific use case study of a time when you've worked with a client to help them developed that and how that's helped improve their engagement online?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's their mindset going into creating content that is already throwing them off. And they think that creating content immediately means you cannot be professional. And
Oh,
that is very far from the truth. I have lawyer clients who I'm now creating content for, and they're killing it online. But that's because they can be professional and be themselves while still getting engagement, getting views, and even getting clients. So, first and foremost, what lawyers do wrong is they think, oh, I can't create content because that's not professional. So, immediately breaking that down already opens them to the opportunity to actually get in front of the camera and start creating content.
gotcha. A good example in the legal space that I like of lawyer who's making professional content that's super engaging is the Legal Eagle. I don't know if you know that channel. They
Oh,
comment on, it's US based, on US news and politics about the legal ramifications of it. And it's always the dude, he's got his suit on and he's always referencing case law. He's got the library behind him. It looks very lawyerly, right? Referencing case law, talking about things, but also discussing P. Diddy's in the news right now for bad stuff. And he's discussing what sentencing means, like what's going to happen here, what's the next steps in the case, or all of these things. And then in the middle, there's always a break where, hey, if you're currently in the court with 714 charges levied against you, you probably need a good lawyer. But even if
mhm.
you don't have that many against you, maybe talk. And so he's got always a little break about him around the news. And so he's talking about something trending, discussing legal ramifications, doing it professionally. He's not doing the new TikTok dance or whatever.
Yep.
And that he's got like 0.4 million subs.
Yeah. So, what he's doing there is he's taking a hot topic, he's discussing it, and then he's obviously doing a little ad for himself. But what
Yep.
that translates to, and what's amazing about video content, is that you can have every part of the customer funnel in a video. And what I mean by that is a customer funnel at the most basic level is awareness, nurture, and capture. And you can do all three of those in a video, whereas it's much harder to do it in, let's say, a text post or even a carousel. Possible, but not as likely. And so he's using an awareness based content to capture people's attention while also putting a little slot to capture them to take the next level in his sales funnel, which is amazing
It's
because he's
good.
able to do both.
Able to do both. And when you've got 3+ million subs, every time he's making a video, I'm sure he's getting a few calls, right?
Yep.
Now, I would note you don't have to have 3 million subs for this strategy to work. Let me throw that out there. I do just fine on my YouTube, and I'll throw in something here that I see work actually really well for content on YouTube. I have not quite 100 subs. You were my 98th sub, and I think I now have 99. So I'm not
It's,
quite there yet, but I do get 1 to 2 calls a week off of YouTube.
yep.
Not because my organic reach is so good, but rather because when you combine your organic reach and you've got to make social shorts, and most everybody who's seeing any of my content, they're going to see this on a social short. That's just how these things work. But I think it's $7 a day into
Hmm.
ads on 3 shorts that I've made. And those shorts, if you watch more than 66% of the short, you'll see my organic content now too. So make a really engaging 30-second short, and then people will see your organic content. And I've also got a 16-minute long wide form, like regular video, that 50% of people watch all the way to the end.
Yep. And
And
that works.
and it's a
Big.
pre-roll ad. That means
Yeah.
you're going to do something, you see this dumb face, and half of people watch it all the way to the end. So that's really powerful. And they got it because they saw my organic content. So you do, it's $7 a day is a tiny budget. And
Yeah.
what I'm doing is I'm promoting stuff I already made organically that I saw was high engagement. So now I know you'll watch it, you'll stay engaged. These sorts of things mean you get the benefit of your organic content, and people are now seeing your organic content. I'm every every paid view I get on a video, I get 1 to 1.5 organic views from that because people are watching through. So you get both, right? And for $7 a day, I'm getting like 10,000, 15,000 impressions a month just on my YouTube shorts, right? That,
Amazing.
for the tiny effort you put in financially, makes the effort of making these videos really rewarding.
Yep. And you
And
know
you,
the saying, like, people have to see your stuff 12 times before
yeah,
they work with you? It's only 12 times because usually you only see a brand for a 30-second commercial or a post that's you look at for 5 seconds.
that's great.
But when they're watching an entire video, suddenly those touch points are reduced because they're already spending more time with you. It's only 12 touch points because they haven't spent enough time with you.
Yeah, you've got to shift their behavior. I
Yeah.
agree. Literally every deal I've closed this year, they have seen my video content. It wasn't necessarily the first touch, but everybody who I ask,
Mhm.
they've always seen it because that's what stands out. Right? It's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram. Like, I'm putting it everywhere, and
Mhm.
somewhere I will find you. I will
Yeah.
kill you. Like, very Liam Neeson here. I think, and you brought up a good point, right? Social media and sales. A lot of people think they're not, like, you can't put them together. Social media is information. Then I bring you to my website to download a white paper or some whatever nonsense email gated thing. And then I start to sell. But actually, social media strategy and sales process go together. And
Mhm.
we talked about legal, how he does it. Can you give me an example, one of your clients, how you'd recommend you take social media and you put some sales in to make this thing start to work right out of the gate?
Yeah, first and foremost is making sure that social media is part of your sales funnel. If you know that people convert after watching a webinar, let's just give an example. You want to make sure to get your people from social media to that webinar.
Hmm.
Oh, what a lot of people do wrong with social media is they post and they spend no time trying to get their audience off of the platform. And you cannot convert anyone if they never leave the platform. One thing you can do is just get them to book a call. You can get them to download a lead magnet. You can get them to subscribe to a newsletter. There are multiple ways to do it, but the goal is to get them off the platform.
Gotcha. One of the risks of staying on a platform is you can be deplatformed a number of ways, right? YouTube algorithm may change. I remember 2 years ago when I had maybe 2,000 followers on LinkedIn, I would routinely get 40, 80 likes on a post.
Mhm.
Now I've got 6,000 followers on LinkedIn. I normally get three, right? The algo changed. My
Mhm.
reach vanished. Now, every once in a while, I'll have a post that pops, and then I'll get 300. But most of the time, almost no engagement. Like, it feels like my mom is liking my post, even though she's not on LinkedIn. That's about it. So algos change, platforms change, but when you own a lead with email or SMS or whatever, you can always get a hold of them.
Absolutely. And that's why you want to be thinking about that before you start posting on social media. What is the plan to get them off the platform? Because if you're not doing that, then you're basically posting for nothing.
Gotcha. As I mentioned, LinkedIn algo has changed. Instagram algo has changed real recently too. People are used to using the platforms in a certain way. Then you have to pivot to a new strategy. You've been at this long enough. Give me an example of when you had to make a pivot and how you know if the pivot is working or not.
You definitely know it's not working right away. 100% it's obvious. Oh my gosh, I went through so many changes. But if I'm just thinking, oh my God, like 8 years ago, just trying to get companies on social media, oh my God, it was awful. And honestly, there are still companies like that today,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is pretty crazy. But I think in terms of changes with social media, it's just being tapped into the industry. And just even if it's what are those things called? We Google, you just get like a Google alert.
Yeah.
So you just type in social media, and every time there's news, you just get a little update. You follow people on different platforms so that you can see what's going on. Um, what I wouldn't do is change your entire strategy to these new features or changes. That's never a good idea. But you can change like your daily or weekly tactics. So if I've learned anything over the last 10 years, it's Yes, you can get on trends if you have the capacity to, but don't change your entire social media strategy because threads came out. Like everyone went crazy for 5 days about threads, and then I haven't heard one person talk about it since.
I have a Threads account. I think we even post to it.
So do I.
But
Why don't I
only
use it?
because it was a checkbox, and so we add the threads as well as everywhere else.
Exactly. But that's why, like, things are always going to change, and they're going to change very quickly. At least yearly, they're going to be changing. You don't want to change your whole entire social media strategy. And by social media strategy, like, how are you going to attract the people? How are you going to show them that you're a thought leader? And how are you going to get them off the platform? That should not be changing
Yeah, I think
in the
that
short term.
actually that brings a good question. Difference between social media strategy and
Mhm.
social media tactics. Like, and your
Yes.
strategy tends to hold consistent. What's the tactic you're embracing right now that you're seeing is either more fun or more engaging, or you're just enjoying using?
Ooh, I'm trying a lot of things right now. What's a good tactic I can share? I think I'm really honing into hooks, social media
Mm,
hooks, which everyone should always be doing, but I'm really focusing on that now, where I'll take my old content that didn't do well,
yeah,
I'll post it with a new hook, see if that works.
gotcha.
So just testing hooks. See, like you
That's
can test your hook. You can have a different hook every single day. You can change it out. You can switch it up the morning of. That's fine. I'm not changing the strategy. I'm not touching that part.
yeah. And that's also a good thought because this is episode I think 30 of
Hmm.
my podcast. And I've got, that means 29 episodes of content. And some of them did well and some of them didn't when I was sharing the shorts. Remix it, put a new hook in front, see if that works.
Me?
Might get a pop. It's a good point. And you listening, you should do it too. I think that does also bring up when you're posting, uh, of the people who post on LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever, 90% of people never post. Then of that 10%, 90% of them post for maybe 60 days and they give up. That means really only 1% of people, brands, but we'll talk about, are posting regularly on social media because the accrual over time of benefit, it is slow, it's hard to measure, whatever. It is really important when you're working as either a brand or as a person who is branding themselves, consistency, right?
Hmm.
How do you get clients, entrepreneurs, founders, whatever now we wish to use, excited about and willing to be consistent and post that time so that they will get results not this week, but results in 4 months?
Yeah. So I just want to be clear about the definition of consistency. That doesn't mean posting every single day. That means posting, I would define it as every week. Even if you post once every single week, you're staying consistent. That is your consistency. You don't have to be posting every day. So let's get that out of the way. Second way, so the way to stay consistent, obviously I do that for my clients. That is a benefit of working with an agency, is that we make sure that they're consistent. But if you want to do it, the best way to stay consistent is to batch parts of your content process. So first you would lay out your content process. So let's say scripting, preparing for the video, recording the video, and editing, and then scheduling. So that's 5 different parts of your content process. You want to batch each one. So one on every single day. So let's say it takes an hour each. You're more likely to work on it for an hour a day than 6 hours all at once.
Right.
Because you're going to get annoyed. You're going to be like, what's happening? You're like, I wasn't ready for this. I'm missing this. I need this prop. I don't feel like doing this now. Much easier when you batch create. But people think that batch create is literally doing everything in one day, which you can do. And if that's how you work, great. But most people I know cannot do that. Emails come up. Like the entrepreneurs, they're busy. Business founders, they're busy. They cannot work for one whole day on content. So the best way that I found is you break it up into little sections and you're able to get things rolling.
Yeah, that's fair. I will tell you, we're recording this on, I think this is a Monday or Tuesday? On Tuesday. We're recording this on Tuesday, and on Friday is when I will batch and edit and make my shorts and make my blog posts and make my LinkedIn posts and all that. And then they
Yep.
will come out a week after. So it is
Yep.
very much, yeah, I agree. I could not record this, edit this, write the, like all that all in one day, because this is, I think, 6th of 11 meetings I have today.
Yeah.
Like, I got
It's
other stuff.
also just, it requires different skills.
Yeah.
So when you're on a podcast talking to someone like this, that requires like a lot of your attention. You have to pay attention to what's coming next, making sure the audio is good, the lighting is good, the video is not ruined. There's so many things that you're thinking about right now. And then if you had to suddenly go into editing mode, you're going to be like, oh my God. You're like, no, thanks.
I give up. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
exactly.
All right. So you've had a lot of different roles. You've gone from working in marketing teams. You've had your own podcast, which is on a bit of a hiatus now. And now you're running your own company, right? A marketing bound. Most every marketer I know, their path through professional life only makes sense looking backwards. You can't, like, on your first day as an intern, say, this is how I'm going to get there. Talk to me about an inflection point that made you say, you know what, founder life is where I want to be.
Oh, when you start working for people that aren't logical, that's when you're like, oh, if
you're an idiot.
This, if they can do this, I can do this.
Wow, I got it. If any idiot can do this, I can be that idiot. That's actually pretty much
exactly.
The same for me. Well, yeah.
So as harsh as that sounds, it's more, especially with like my podcast, like I interviewed 100 entrepreneurs and marketers. And what you realize is it really doesn't matter what your education is. It really doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much money you make. What really matters is your consistency in putting in effort. And for the people I used to work for and the ones I removed off of my LinkedIn,
man, they're dead to you. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, like they all had that. No matter what people thought of them, is that they showed up every single day. And I was like, oh, I can do that. Also, sometimes I would just look at how they ran their business and I'm like, no, let's do this instead. Come on, let's do this. And that didn't work really well with superiors. So I had to start my own business.
Got it. I agree. It is the entrepreneurial mindset of you could just fix this why won't you let me fix it? And then at some point you go, fine, I'm going to go have my own house with my own, do it myself.
Yeah. Right. Like it was just infuriating. I would suggest something. They would ignore me. And this happened over and over again, like multiple businesses. They would ignore me. And then 6 months later, they'd be like, I have an idea. Like,
this brilliant idea.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Where were you guys 6 months ago?
Yeah, I can see how that would a couple of times of that. And I'd be like,
yeah. Exactly. So I think as entrepreneurs, we can't imagine working for other people now.
Yeah.
So
I think most dedicated founders are almost unemployable. As you reach a point where you're like, look, I'm there now. It's a problem because I'm happy running Crowd Tabers. I don't want to leave. But if I were to be like, oh, I want to get a job again, like the first week, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, get out.
Yeah.
Like, you don't take direction. I'm like, I know. I'm supposed to be in charge of, oh, good point. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to go back.
So you're here in Montreal. I just learned today you are bilingual, English and French. Do you work in both languages, or do you parlez français bien, but only a little bit?
So I actually work with mostly American clients. I have some Canadian clients, but mostly American. And that's just because their industries are a little bit different. The way they conduct business is a little bit different. Yes. And usually they're just they're looking for my services more than Canadian businesses.
That's fair. In Quebec, I have found, I did have a client I was doing performance marketing for, and I went, hey, you should do some organic. here, I'll get you started. Let's record a video like this one and we'll
Mhm.
slice it up and I'll give it to you and you can use it. And they went, none of this is, no, this is all horrible. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's literally you talking. And they're like, it's horrible. I'm not saying the right things. I'm like, you're talking about your product and how it saves people millions of dollars.
Yeah.
How's that the wrong thing? And they're like, the video quality, it is not where you want it to be. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's 720p. Like, it's, I don't know. No, I'm not wearing a suit and a tie and the back. I'm just like,
Yeah. That also reminds me when lawyers do videos, and there should be a rule. If you're ever in slow motion in one of your promo videos, it's too professional. Like they're like walking out. I saw one the other day. He was walking out of his office and it's like, this is too professional. People, you're not approachable if you're coming out like a superhero.
nice. I had, when I was first starting running my own marketing business in Florida 20 years ago now, I had 2 lawyers as clients. I don't know how I got them, except whatever, life happened. And one of them had his own private airplane. He was a personal injury lawyer, private airplane, right? And he would fly anywhere, I think, on the eastern seaboard to be there. Like, he wasn't just an ambulance chaser. He was a professional one, man. He had an airplane to chase those ambulances. And we were doing YouTube ads for him back when YouTube ads were like brand new.
Yeah.
And I remember I was done with something called a Mino Flip, which was like one of the first portable 720p video recorders that was digital. It had 2 gigabytes of storage on board, which meant you got about 30 minutes. And we would film these things, and he would insist like at least half the shots were down here, pointing up at him with the plane over his shoulder, so he could be like Superman here, being like, if you've had a personal injury, Johnny is your guy. Puts the, and then there's like the CSI, yeah, what? Just
Yeah.
like, what do I do?
And
I'll
it's
take
just
your
like,
money because I need it.
yeah. I know, but it's videos like that. We were talking about authenticity. Like, that's not authentic. That's how you walk around every single day. The way you and I are talking right now,
Yeah.
this is who we are. Like,
This is very much who we are.
but planes are not flying over this man on a daily basis.
No, he flew them. He was a pilot too, a pilot and a lawyer. It's a rare combo.
That's pretty impressive. I won't lie.
Pretty impressive.
That's why I got to his head. Like, it's an impressive combo.
I think it got to his head. Now, mind you, this is also 20 years ago when the idea of a discussion like this.
Yeah, it
No
didn't
one's doing
exist.
that, right? No one's doing that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so all right, I would like to ask,
Yeah.
what are you reading right now?
What am I reading? I'm. It's a weird answer because I'm currently reading like 5 books at once, but not because I'm a very avid reader. It's because I get bored.
Okay.
So I start one and I'm like, ooh, very nice. And then I'm like, let's try this one. Let's try
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
So I have a stack next to my bed.
Hmm.
And right now I'm actually reading, what's the title? Clean Gut. It's this guy did an experiment on gut health. And he found a way to help your gut, and then you basically solve most of your health problems. I don't remember the exact title. I think it's called Clean Gut. So that's the one I'm reading right now. Not very interesting.
The Breakthrough Plan for
That one.
Yeah, by Alejandro Hunger, MD.
Yes, him.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Eliminating the root cause of chronic disease. Interesting. Okay. That's cool.
Have you ever seen the Netflix documentary about gut health?
No.
Yeah. So that's what kind of got me into it. I was like, what do you mean gut health? And then like I just spiraled into being like very interested in it.
I feel you. As somebody who not every week, but probably at least once a month, just has a bag of Doritos for lunch, I feel like I'm not really in that target market.
But it's still interesting. It's interesting.
Gotcha.
So you have your Doritos, but I would just watch the Netflix documentary.
Okay,
It's not very long either.
I'll keep it in mind. That's
Yeah.
super interesting. I do agree that like a good founder, I'd argue none of us are perfect founders. A good founder does, you tend to the body, you tend to the mind, you do all these things so you're better at your job. And then I'm working in the office I lovingly call the Murder Shack. I do run once or twice a week. I try to do a 5 or 10K. That's my only concession to the meat sack that contains the brain. Otherwise, I'm like, whatever, man. You treated it bad for 43 years and you've gotten here. Let's go. So, all right, that's a good book to read for a founder who wants to get out of the low energy daily grind. I know if I ate better, I'd feel better, and yet somehow I don't. Cool. What am I reading right now? It's interesting for people. Man, I mean, I read a lot of fiction. Trying to think of a piece of
That's
fiction that's
interesting.
relevant to people right now.
It's a good break from all like the business books
Yeah.
that I read. I'm sure you read business books too. It's just we're gravitated towards it. But one I really liked was the Checklist Manifesto. Have you ever read that one?
Okay.
I don't remember authors' names, but the Checklist Manifesto, basically all about checklists.
Okay.
And I actually implemented checklists into my business after reading that for everything.
By Atul Gawande.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm probably murdering both of these names, by the by, but okay, interesting. I read a long time ago Sprints, which is how big projects get done.
I actually think I have that book. I didn't read it yet, though.
By Jake Knapp. And then from there, I also had Getting Things Done, which is David Allen's book on like productivity. I read those like, I don't know, a decade or more ago. And they've become fundamental in my practice running my business. I don't recommend them enough. But like the most important thing, and the Checklist Manifesto, I'm sure, also covers this. Things that are in your head to do, write them down.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
do that and you're already doing better than most people.
Yeah.
And
Basically.
taking that and like in my company internally, everybody has to every morning do that. And then we post to a public Slack channel what your list for the day is.
Yeah.
And then we know what are we working on. And if Daniela, my marketing PM, looks at this and says, what are you doing? That's the wrong thing. Client need these 3 things. Okay, we have time to pivot and still deliver the right thing before the end of the day. So checklists are good, and shared checklists, if you're in a team, super good. And this also replaces daily scrums, which
Yes.
I hate. The
Yeah.
information sharing is good, but the fact that there's 5 or 10 people sitting around, each one talking one at a time, and the rest of us tuned out instantly.
Yeah.
Like, we have our daily scrum channel. I can scroll all 7 of us in 30 seconds. I know what we're all doing. Go about my life.
Exactly.
All right. One last question for you. AI.
Yes.
It's obviously changing how we make content, how we prep for podcast interviews. I mentioned my podcast prep takes 30 seconds. That's because all these questions came from AI. And I'm building out from there, right? How should a founder use AI in their organic social content creation, and how should they not?
They should not use it to create the content. Very bad. Very bad. I cannot stress that enough. But they should use it to do research, to create systems, to get inspiration. And that looks very different in practice than me just saying out loud. But once you start to hone it in, like hone AI for the research part, that's when you start separating yourself from everybody else, because you're actually accessing and have more knowledge than everybody else. So like your questions, I'm sure you would have come up with great questions. I had my podcast, I came up with my own questions. AI didn't work like that.
Back then,
AI
no.
wasn't really around when I started my podcast.
Yeah. Which
Which
makes
is
us sound
crazy
old.
how No, I know, but like it
2
was only
years.
5 years ago.
Yeah. 2 years ago, GPT-3 came out.
Exactly.
Since then.
So you just have more access to more information. And especially when you have a guest on, like you want to know a lot about them, it's hard to do all that research manually.
Yeah.
But if you can ask ChatGPT, say, hey, I want to know more about this person, top 5 things I need to know, blah, 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 specific prompts, you have a much better quality output. Same for any part of your content, whether it's just a post, a podcast, a newsletter. You start with, you basically hypothesize, you put it in ChatGPT if you can get a better output. And then you edit it again.
Yes, that's always important.
Yes. And you just don't want to be creating the entire piece of content with ChatGPT.
one thing I like to always point out, because some people will just let ChatGPT do it all, is LLMs are by definition the average of the internet. That's literally how they work. Think of how dumb the average person is, and then do you want to write like them?
That's an amazing way to put it. Amazing way to put it. Yeah.
And what I use, so I use it for show prep. I mentioned, right? I dump your LinkedIn profile, I download the PDF, I dump it into, not just you, but any guest of the show, dump it in with a 6,000 word prompt. And I say, go prep the show. And so it does. And then I didn't read every question. I didn't read them all verbatim, but it gave me some topics that are interesting to pull at. And now after the show is done, I'm going to take the transcript and I'm going to tell AI, find me the most interesting bits.
Yeah, because AI doesn't have context. So you have to bring in that context.
Yeah. And then from those interesting bits, I can write blog posts. I can have AI draft a blog post that I rewrite. There's a bunch you can do here. But the last live stream I did with my buddy Tom from X-Ray Tech was about human in the loop AI. And that's the real thing here. When you're making your content, you can't have AI do all of it. You can have AI do maybe 80% of it at best. You've got to be there. Otherwise, you're going to have all the language read like everyone else's crappy chat GPT posts. No one wants it anymore. Speaking of bilingual, every time I say chat GPT, I do think of the fact that chat GPT is cat. I farted.
Yeah.
And so about one time in 10, the intrusive thoughts win. As I say chat GPT, I just think of a cat going. And now you will too.
It took me a second because I was like saying it in my head. I'm like,
and my accent's terrible, but chat GPT. There we go.
Oh my God. I did want to say something before you spoke about cats.
Please be on topic.
Social media is a great way for people to stand out. And that is why you have to do more than just have valuable content. When you make something engaging, that means you're showing your personal brand. You're showing what you're capable of doing. I mean, then you edit it, make it look nice, and make all that stuff takes your social media to the next level. What everyone is doing now, using AI, and everyone's around here. And that is why valuable content doesn't work anymore. Because everyone is doing that right here.
And you want to be up here.
Exactly.
Right? Be at least one standard deviation.
At least one.
And everything about me is at least one standard deviation beyond the norm. All right, Lauren, people want to get a hold of you. They want to find out more about you and more about Marketing Bound. Where do they find you online?
Okay, well, obviously LinkedIn. That's where you and I are connected.
Yep.
And marketingbound.com for sure.
All righty, awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all listening. If you have any questions for me or for Lauren, reach out. We are on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on everywhere. We'll be here next week with another show. I'm not even sure who's on next because I've got 4 guests coming, but it'll be good. I promise you. Thanks, everyone.